So many of us talk about growing a business, but we never really talk about the behind the scenes or how do we really get there. Follow along with me on this journey as we work together to figure this out. Hey y'all, welcome to my mini series. In this series, we are going to be doing some recorded discussions with business owners. And I'm going to be asking them all the questions, things that we really want to know, like why do you do what you do? Why are you passionate? What keeps you up at night? And of course, I'm going to be asking them to give us some more gems and giving us advice about things they wish they knew that they know now. So pick up your pen and pencil, subscribe, share this video with others because we're on this journey together and you definitely don't want to be left behind. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is another episode and today we get to talk to Jessica. Jessica, please, for those who do not know you, introduce yourself, tell us about you and what it is that you specifically do.
Yeah, Destiny, thanks for having me and chatting a little bit more. So, yes, my name is Jessica. I am currently a leadership coach who really focuses on confidence and overall leadership with people. Backstory, like, who am I? Like, let's go back a little bit. I've always worked in the leadership and coaching space. So I'm a Southern California native living in the Midwest. A lot of people ask how I got here. I question that all the time too. But came for a leadership role where I got to travel all across the country and help students with overall leadership development and coach them and really just walk alongside them and get to see their success. And so that just in that role, it inspired me to continue this leadership coaching thing that I now do. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. I think it sums up my kind of background there.
Yeah, you're so humble. Jess does a lot of great things, but we can dive in deeper into that a little bit later. I know that it's not always comfy for people to tell all their accomplishment and all the great things they do, but I'm going to give you a second to dive into that because really, I want to know, like, what got you to where you are?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a firm believer in when I talk to clients or just people that I work with of if you want to find out a little bit more about purpose and where you're meant to go and what you're meant to do, you need to look at your history and what you've been doing. And so for me, growing up, I was that student who was involved in like all the extracurricular activities. Like I wanted to do everything. ASB, leadership, there's a conference, there's an event, I wanted to be there. And so I think that for me, that really honed in on my gifts that I feel that I have to just serve people and to help them and to help them be more in alignment with where the direction is that they want to go. So for me, it started off in grade school and getting to run for like student president in like fifth grade. And I got it, and I was like, yes, this is where I'm meant to be. And so those sorts of activities, really just getting to work with people over the years, I just realized it was a gift of mine. It wasn't just something that was a passion and I loved to do. I actually had talent and skill in it because people would come back to me and being like, Jessica, you helped me so much, or I listened to what you did, and now I'm in this spot. And it was somewhat of a bucket filler for me to be able to see that people were reaching their full potential. And that's kind of where the gifting lies, if you will. But I think that I started this coaching thing long before I knew what it was called and knew what I was doing. And so that kind of led me into where I am today. I will say that when I went through college as well, like I took on I've had a job since I was 16, so I was always someone who was working. And again, just like school, I took on those extra roles of let me be a trainer. So I worked at Disneyland and I was a trainer, and then I moved into a leadership role where I got to lead and train and bring in some strategy. So Destiny, when you asked me where did this all begin, it was long ago, and I just continue to build the skills and knowledge and position it in a different way now.
Yeah. I think there's a few gems that you dropped out. Is one, you said like you just picked what you knew you were good at,
Yeah.
right? You were like, what is it that I'm good at? And you said you found yours out in fifth grade. Shout out for that. Knowing that in fifth grade when you were student body president, you're like, this is it. This is where we're going to go with this. Okay. So when you got those gifts, what motivated you to just like, you're like, okay, that's it. What kept you from being afraid to use them?
That's a good question because I don't think fear was always non-existent. I think that it required me to just lean in to the ideas that I had because no one else was saying it and no one else was doing it. And I knew I was in positions where I'm like, oh, I have an idea about that and I know how to do it. And I would sit back and like wait for someone to say it and it never came. So I just kind of had to face fear in the face and say, guess what? If I have something, let me bring it front to the forefront and see how it goes. And getting over that fear and doing it anyway is what builds your confidence to keep going and to do it the next time a little bit faster. You're not going to wait as long. And so even with coaching now, like I don't want to say that I wasn't fearful about it. I don't want to
Yeah.
say that as long as I've been doing this, even though I knew like back then that I was talented in it, that it hasn't been something where I've second guessed myself. But I think really what I have to focus on is the people that I'm meant to help and who I'm meant to serve.
Yeah.
And if I'm not walking in that and being the leadership coach and focusing on confidence and helping people walk into that themselves and be better, well, then there's people out there that need it. So
Yeah.
keeping that in mind.
That's so good. I love it. First, the honesty of like, you would love to say you're not afraid, but you had fear, which we
Mm,
all have fear, right? But I feel like sometimes we feel as if we have to put on a facade of like, I'm not fearful. I can do this. I'm great. But it's honestly nice to hear like, hey, I was fearful and I just had to do it anyway because there was someone out there who could benefit from this, right? So instead of looking at the masses of like, what does everyone think? You like focusing on like, but what about the people who I was meant and born and Lord has called me to serve? Like,
mm.
how do they feel about it? And like, that is what keeps you going, it seems as if.
Yeah. And Destiny, to be honest, I'm still figuring it out. You asking me to get on this call and to talk about like my journey and coaching and all of those things, so much comes into mind of like, am I really walking in this? Am I doing this? Like it's still here as I'm figuring it out, but you figure it out as you go and you just take one step at a time.
Yeah. So it's pretty much like you're building the plane while it's flying, right? Like
100%.
you're like, okay, next the wing. Here it is. Let's go. Let's keep it going. Let's balance it out. No, really, because it you don't know what you don't know, right? And many people look back, and I say this all the time, like the reason why I'm doing this series is like many people look back like it's so easy. And it's like I think you forget what it was like when you started. Right. And so the intention is to meet with you and people who are currently in the process of like growing their business still. Like, yes, you have years of experience. I will not take that away from you, but you just said you're still figuring it out because every day is a learning process, no matter how many years you have. And I think that that's amazing that you're still trying to even reach your full potential and like you're pretty potential already. So it's like, where else do we go from here? But you're willing to step out on your faith and be like, okay, this is
Yeah.
where it is. This is
Mhm.
where we're going next. And so, as you think about all this and how you're still on this journey,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to someone who's trying to figure this out for themselves?
Hmm. That's a good question because for a long time, I feel like I knew the name like as I grew since fifth grade, right?
Yeah.
Of coach and being a coach and helping people, but I didn't know what that entailed. Like you're not necessarily going to go to your, you know, school or university and have, well, this is how you get to be a coach and this is what you need to do. And so I think for me, just kind of going on into researching what it meant, there's a lot of different ways that somebody interested in coaching or being a coach can get into it, right? And so my advice would be to just start.
Yeah.
Just start. If that means researching and figuring out like what are some areas of coaching that you want to go into. If that means that there's somebody near you that could be your first client because they're already coming to you and you're coaching them, then take them on as your client and begin to work through what that would look like. If you have an idea for a coaching program that you can start to help people, just do it. There are boundaries that sometimes we want to place on what we can do. And I just think anybody looking to get into this field or this business to help people just start connect with other people, like getting a network and knowing someone who has forged the way before you is always good to connect and learn about how their journey went. But there's many roads to the same path, so just start.
Thank you so much for that, Jessica. And you mentioned another good thing about forging the path ahead of you. Um, you know, I don't know. I guess my first question is, did you have someone who was leading you along the way, or were you trying to figure this out to even start when you started?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess like I just gave my intro and filled in some of the blanks of what was in there, but through just working with leaders, student leaders, and university, focus on leadership. Once I began to know that I actually wanted to go into coaching, well, then I got super specific in just connecting with other people who I knew had the coaching business or had a program or had already done it beforehand. And so it's interesting because a lot of people say, and that's my recommendation too, like get a mentor. But for me, it was just a lot of different people. And I have a friend who's now went into full-time coaching, and she went through a program that we were interested in going through. And so I just sat with her and asked her about it. And so I think for me, it was just like picking up a little bit from everybody as I was going on the way. So I can't say it was one person specific, but I definitely had people helping me.
Yeah, so you had a community with you, which is so important. And then the fact that you weren't limiting where you were getting that information from. You weren't just saying, "Oh, I only want to go to Sally." Like you're like, "No, I'm going to multiple individuals and just grabbing it." So it's really like being a sponge and soaking it in. And then I'm assuming you applied it to what was working for you and made your own program, your own coaching process. You weren't trying to be a Sally 2.0. You were trying to be Jessica, and this is how I am.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have like such uniqueness, and it's great, like we said, to have a network and a community and mentors. But sometimes we get so focused on trying to get to where Sally went that we start to pick up Sally's characteristics.
Yeah.
We have to hold on to what makes us us. And even if you're doing going in the same industry with coaching, you have a uniqueness that you can bring, an innovation, something different, something that no one's done before that will stand out and reach the people meant for you. So, yeah, that's super, super critical.
Yeah. And this is something, y'all, that I did not tell Jessica about before, but there's a little segment in here that I want to do called flowers. So I'm sure you know this, but I'm a strong believer that you give people their flowers before they're passed. And so I want to spend a second to just brag about you, which is funny because you didn't even introduce yourself on how great you are. But for those who do not know, I met Jessica years ago. I cannot recall, maybe 10 years ago if I do the math.
Oh my gosh, it could be now. Yeah, 8 to 10 years for sure.
Yeah. So Jessica is phenomenal, but Jessica just mentioned getting a mentor and finding someone. Jessica was my person. And so she doesn't know that, but she was the first person I reached out to. And it's pretty much just like fangirling over Jessica in her DMs on social media. And I was like, oh my God, you don't know me. And I fangirled over her for a little bit. But all that to say is that Jessica showed up for me in a time where she didn't have to. She didn't know me from Adam. We had one connection and like, yes, that was great, but she could have just replied with, oh, okay, cool. But somehow, some way, we got connected. We met each other in person when you came to town. I think you took the initiative to let me know you were coming to the town I was in at the time. And I just like wanted to just thank you for that because of you, that has inspired me to be where I am today. But also I know you inspire other people. And so like just keep doing what you do and you are phenomenal. You have a lot that's happening in life and you still show up for others. You show up for yourself and like I don't know if you know how great you are, but I'm sure you do. But in case you don't, I want to tell you again for everyone to hear, you're fantastic. You didn't do your bio justice. I won't throw you out there like that because I understand you want to be humble, but you are doing great things. You are phenomenal. And so I just want to share that. And also just, I always want to point this out. The fact that you are a Black woman is so great. Like, I think you don't have to be Black, you don't have to be a woman, but it just puts the cherry on top for me is to just see representation because representation matters. You are more than qualified as any individual. If we took all the demographics off, your resume says you can do any job. But I just think it even puts it even better because I understand that there are more things that you possibly have to overcome to be in the situations and places that you get to be in. And the fact that you reach out behind and pick other people up is very much appreciated.
Oh my gosh, Destiny, thank you. I have never been given my flowers, and that was just so special to me. So I appreciate it. And who would have known us 10 years ago sitting there talking about how Destiny and I didn't know that we wanted to do the same thing and be in the same industry. We just connected on social media and sat down, and it was like, I'm passionate about this and I want to go into leadership and I love coaching. And then we're like, are you me? Because you're telling me the exact same thing. And so here we are.
Yeah. It's just the Lord works in mysterious ways, right? Like he will continue to show up and show out all the time. So thank you for answering your calling and for what you do. And for other people who to get to experience you and all your loveliness, can you tell them how they can connect to you? Any clients, if you're taking clients, what you look for in a client?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I am on social media platforms. Jessica Habib. So, Dusty, I don't know if my name will show up how it is, but just type that in. You can find me there. And really, for my clients, like I work with anybody, but really, like I said in the beginning, specialize in leadership, confidence, and health, like overall health. So, I just look for clients who are wanting a change, maybe have tried some things and don't know where to go, and they need and want someone in their corner to not just help them get there, but help them work on those roadblocks and actually build a strategic path. So yeah, that's kind of what I look for. I'm a high achiever, so I expect them to show up that way. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'm excited for people to get to connect with you and to hear this series and hear your story. So thank you so much for taking your time out today. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for listening today and hope to see you next time.